Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. We've got this outdoor kitchen knife set. You can see, I guess the designer maybe, or the line is Ormake. These are the Monsoon series, and I got these from Obai. Got these mosquitoes flying around here too. Obai, who's connected to Olight, who's connected to O Knife, so they're all kind of connected as like a family of companies. The idea behind this is you've got a set of knives you can take out into the woods to do food prep. In this video, I'm going to give you a rundown of what they look like, how they function. I'm going to show you them in use. And then in a future video, we're going to include these guys as I head out and do a bushcraft outing with these guys to use them for prepping a meal. So a couple things. We have 1.4 116 steel on both of these guys. This is your utility knife right there. So a big sweeping blade. Looks a bit like a fillet knife, but is not as thin as a fillet knife. You can see the information there and on this side as well. G10 handle. You do have a lanyard hole. I mean, I guess you could put that on there. The advantage of putting it on there is if you put a small one on, you could lock your finger in through a small hole or even put it on your wrist, I guess, and it gives you more control when you're bearing down on it. And then the second one we have is the cleaver. And of the two, the cleaver is definitely my favorite. Just the way it sits in my hand naturally falls like this for any knife I pick up. It's just like how I feel most comfortable. So to be able to bear down and cut with this is awesome. This has been used, it has been cleaned, and you can see it cleans up quite nicely. See that cleaver style blade, still quite thin. G10 handles for this as well. And then you've got the little lanyard hole. So let me tell you something I don't like about this knife set, and I'll tell you something I do. What I don't like is the sheath system. Here's why. You flip this back to take it out. Naturally, it's going to want to fall back into place. I'm sure there's a better way to set up this system. Even if they use Kydex, that would be great. But you can even see right there, I've got a little cut in it because as it flips back toward the snap, when you pull this up, you can slice it, which I did. Now that is operator error, but I think a lot of people are going to face that same problem. So I would encourage these guys to be proactive and say, hey, let's find a way to get these things locked in and not have to worry about somebody accidentally slicing their sheath. Now here's the other thing. I want you to see as I pull this up where it slices is right where it cut. And that's because this thing can move side to side quite a bit. So if this thing is that way, which, you know, if you have it on your hip, you snap it over, you shouldn't have to snap it over and then push it over so that this can't come out. But you can see, even if it's pushed over, now when I pull it up, it bumps it this way, and then the knife can come out. It's gonna keep slicing this as it does it, but more so, the danger is you've got a knife that's actually coming out. So look, I can actually put this back in without even unsnapping this. So I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Get something that goes around both handles and then maybe snaps in the back. But that's an issue for me. Now, the reason it's not a huge issue for me is I don't think I'm ever gonna carry this on a belt. If I'm doing food prep, this is gonna be sitting somewhere. I can take out the knives, use them, put them away. So for transport, I'm not too concerned about this because it's unlikely this is gonna get bumped out or yanked out when it's in a pack or something. But I think they could come up with a better system for this. All right, so here's a look at the cleaver. Let me give you the details on it. 11.02 inches from end to end, 6.3 inches for your blade, and 2.4 inches high. Again, this is the 1.4116 steel. That's a steel that Mora has used. I find it to be a good steel as far as for the price, not super, super expensive. So that's your cleaver. There's some details on that one. Here's what they're calling their utility knife. It does look a bit like a fillet knife, but it's actually a bit thicker. So your utility knife, you've got 9 inches from end to end, a 5.2 inch blade, and it's 1.18 inches high. And again, same thing, that 1.4116 steel, and both of these have G10 handles. Your Rockwell hardness for these guys is 55 plus or minus 1. Let me talk about my experience with them. So overall, the cleaver is my favorite. I did find that it sliced really nicely. You're gonna see, obviously, I'm rolling in the footage here, but you can see it doing some cutting very effectively. I think just having the weight of it is nice. I like a wider blade like that so I can kind of cut and scoop or cut and push things. The utility knife worked as well, but if you just said pick one, I would pick the cleaver. I do think that thickness is really nice for slicing and cutting, right? So some people might say, well, just bring your pocket knife into the woods, or what's your fixed blade you have out there? You got your SC6, cut with that. Yeah, you could certainly do that. If you're gonna be doing a bunch of prep, it is nicer to have a knife that's built for the work that you're doing out there in the woods, cooking, prepping, things like that. I was just talking to a friend today about skiing, and I was saying, you know, how much money would you spend to get into skiing? And I said to him, to get in at a level where you like had the tools to do the job well. So to that point, connecting back to these knives, yeah, you can certainly use your pocket knife, your Swiss Army knife, whatever, to cut and do food prep and all that. It is nice if you're doing a lot of prep to have the right tools, right? So if you're just doing your average camping trip, you're doing mountain house meals or something like that, you're not going to bring this set. That wouldn't make much sense. But if you are going out to the woods and you're like, hey, I'm going to do kind of a bushcraft outing or a lot of food prep because I'm out there camping for a while. Maybe you're working out of your car to do a lot of camping, and you go to the food store, buy a ton of food, and then you're doing all the prep there on your tailgate of your truck. Then having a nice set of knives to cut well, I think is, to cut effectively and to prep your food, that's a nice thing to do. I didn't find as much use for the utility knife as opposed to the cleaver. Like I said, I like the cleaver more, but I'd have to use these more, and I'd be like, now I could see why I would use the utility knife. I wish they made that more of a paring knife as opposed to the style that they made it. I think that'd be more effective for some of those more, more smaller cuts, like you saw, cutting up tomatoes, things like that. So at the time of this video, you're looking at about $90 for this set. So not super cheap. It is a pretty nice steel. It's not just a D2 steel or an AUS 8 or something like that. To me, the bottom line for this, based especially in your price point, is to say, will you find a lot of utility out of these knives, right? So if you're like, I'm regularly cooking in the outdoors, then yeah, I think this might be something you want to invest in. If you're like, every once in a blue moon, I do some more significant prep in the outdoors, I would probably use my Swiss Army knife for most of the time. But you got to think about that investment and utility. And to be candid with you, I just said this about a flashlight I reviewed. I checked out the Arcfeld Pro from Olight, and that comes with the LED, it comes with the UV, and it comes with the green laser. And I'm like, if you're not going to use the green laser and the UV, you're just going to use the LED, then you're paying for other lights you're not going to use. So why would you do that? Just get a LED light, right? With this set, the same thing. If you're not going to cook in the outdoors, then don't buy it. If you're not going to cook often in the outdoors, I would say don't buy it. If you are going to, I thought particularly the cleaver was a good knife. And then you got to kind of judge, okay, if you're not going to use the utility knife as much, do you want to invest in buying the two knives when you're only going to use one more? So again, ultimately for you to decide, but my experience was the cleaver's a winner. The utility knife I could pass on. The sheath system, not so great, but if it's in my bag, that's fine. And I will be going out to the woods to do some more significant food prep, and I'll bring this to see what I think about it. So I'll be reporting in with more information. But there's a quick rundown to give you a sense of my experience so far and what I think about these knives. Let's hear your thoughts and your feedback in the comment section, what you like about these knives, what you don't like, and let's get that conversation started now. Hey, thanks as always for checking out the videos here on YouTube. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, Tumblr, and Vero as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.